personal now. I wanted to know, I know we were talking about the fail fast mentality, and I just wanted to know, what are your most memorable failures? It's gonna be good.
What are our most memorable failures? So, I have somewhat of a bullshit answer on this, which is that,
Awesome.
I view the failures as the learnings, blah, 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 but it's really true. I mean, I think about the course of Eventbrite, and if I'm just sticking to Eventbrite and I don't have to go anywhere else, the failures have been in areas that I think we've evolved very much over the last 7 years is a lifetime for a startup. So we're not really like a startup anymore. I mean, I like to say startup's in a mentality, it's not a size, but I think it's desperate because we're at 200 people. So I'm like grasping. But I think it's been in hiring and finding the people who really believe in your vision. In the early days, it was just Kevin and I and Renaud, who was in Paris, remember? So for 2 years, that was Eventbrite, and we were operating. I mean, we had customers, we had a lot of tech customers, and we were building the business on our own. And in the beginning, when we thought about, I'll never forget, we hired our first engineer the day, he started the day after we had our daughter, and I won't ever forget that because Kevin had to leave the hospital to go open our office space for this first engineer. And I think that in those priorities, in those days, we were just really excited for people to want to come work with us, and we felt really humbled by the fact that people would actually want to come work on our idea. And I think we kind of forgot to figure out if that person really believed in the vision or if they were a really great fit for our team. And so I'd say that in the beginning it was just hiring, and I think it's actually a very nuanced, hard thing to get right. And yet today I think about why we succeed or why we even fail in hiring still, because it's not 100% ever. And it is really around what we learned in the beginning, and in hindsight, what we knew what was important to us. And I think evolving our culture and building this team, which is basically all I do every day, is think about people and the team, is how do you pick the people who are going to help you up your game, but also really do believe in the vision, and then how are you clarifying that vision for them? And what I've learned as a somewhat young leader, because this is the first time I've ever done this, is that you have to repeat your vision until you feel like a crazy person, and you feel like they must think I'm nuts, because I've repeated myself so many times. But that's what really helps cement who we are at Eventbrite and what kind of company we're becoming. And then the other, I think, mistake or failure that we had was being too timid and not having enough confidence. So again, I think Eventbrite has woven into it this sort of humble nature that we've kind of tried to overcome over the last few years. But we had a sort of a model when we launched Eventbrite that was a basic and a premium. That was like all the rage back then, this sort of like the early days of freemium. And as a user, when you signed up for Eventbrite, you had to choose between using the free service where we charge no ticket fee, or the premium service where we charge just like de minimis ticket fee, if you think about it in terms of where we are compared to other ticketing services. And the thing about it was that Kevin and I were horrible at putting features in just the premium bucket. We wanted everyone to have access to everything. And so when you looked at the grid, it didn't make any sense because the checkboxes were on both sides, basically, save for like one nuanced, obscure feature. And so it eventually, came to us that we needed to just do away with the freemium model, but it took us so long and so much agony to decide to charge for our service, because we thought all the basic customers would leave and that we wouldn't actually be able to sell this to anybody because they'd look at our fees and go, well, it's not like worth it. We just hadn't have enough confidence. And so when we finally flipped the switch, you can imagine what happened. Nobody left and our conversion went up because you didn't have to look at this really confusing grid to sign up for Eventbrite. You just use your email and password. And I think that for us taught us a really, really important lesson very early on. It was like the first year that we needed to just like charge and lean into things and be willing to fail fast and have confidence in the product that we were building. And it seems very naive to be talking about that now, but I think it was an incredibly important early lesson for us that paved the foundation of how we approach problems or areas that we might be a little bit unsure about. It's like peeking around the corner,
I love it. We, in my business, we started a failure award. in my first year, where I rewarded the biggest screw up. And we still have it this day. Every month we give, I think it's $500 or $700 a month for the biggest mistake. And we ship it around to all the businesses and celebrate it. The first one, it came from a guy, we have a little hotel up in Squaw Valley. It's an old motel built for this 1960 Olympics, built for the delegates of the Winter Olympics. And so it was built in 1959, so it's a very old motel. No air conditioning. And so we keep the doors open during the summers. And there's a big mosquito problem because we have these little ponds nearby. And so one of the crazy guys, you know, the ones that are you kind of ringing the bell at 2 in the morning, you know, so this guy goes, you know, I've got an idea. He's bored. And he says, he went out and he bought a bunch of catfish and he threw it in the ponds. And he said, this is a brilliant idea. He's going to go, and that way the catfish are going to eat all the larvae of the mosquitoes and reduce the mosquitoes. Fabulous idea. Did it on his own ingenuity. And the next morning, Ludo, our engineer, calls in a panic. I literally get a call and the city wakes me up. He goes, I don't know what the hell's happened here. The night clerk had gone. And throughout the hotel were literally the carcasses and body parts of these catfish that the raccoons had a field day and just insanity were running down the hall, jumping around, and stuff's everywhere. Complete chaos. So Ludo thought it was some vandal or something. What the hell's going on? Anyway, and so that inspired the failure work, because what a great idea. The guy at least wanted to try to do something. He didn't just sit there falling asleep as the night guy. And so we thought, man, this guy deserves credit for this screw up. This is my kind of thing. So we tried the failure. My sister, who's running the business now, calls it magical moments because she thought it was a little negative. But I like it. So, you know, I can't hear, you know, there's so many wonderful examples. But that's the spirit. You know, I think Winston Churchill in the political frame said it best. I mean, Churchill, not so shabby success story. He said the secret of all success is moving from failure to failure with enthusiasm. And I kind of get that. It's true. And I know we can overindulge in failure. Some have even taken shots to say this is one of the great sort of, you know, nonsensical things to sort of embrace and belief in this grand idea of failure. But I absolutely cherish it and have very successfully failed as mayor and as lieutenant governor. Many a time.